This works. I don't have the best reception. I was going to update you guys on some of the things that have concerned me over the last week and to let you guys know where I'm at, where the channel is at, and of course what is going on. As many of you guys know, I tried to move my studio the very last second of moving. So up until the 31st, I had my studio in where it was, and it was literally the last thing that we moved out of the house. If you were unaware and weren't there for that week, essentially we got 90 days to move out of our house. The owners of the house we were renting essentially said that they were selling. We were about to move out of state, and last minute something happened where a family member, my wife's family, essentially said, hey, this is something where we don't want our grandkids moving far away. We haven't been in our main house that we own for a very long time, and they've been taking care of the grandma. So they ended up saying, hey, why don't you guys, stay there at least temporarily. So we moved from a 4-bedroom house to essentially a 3-bedroom house and much smaller, with 4 kids. So it was a lot less space, but it is something that, is a lot more homey and a lot more, I guess less dealing with a lot of crap. I had to essentially do a lot of the moving myself. Last minute, we actually had help. My family member helped with a moving company to come and help get us stuff out, but I essentially had to load everything myself. So we have to move the studio, all of that stuff. Well, then I got to this new house and Comcast totally screwed us over. Comcast essentially told us that this house had active lines. If you've ever had to do this, it was just a total junkyard. Had to deal with Comcast for about 2 days. They said that this house had active lines and that we would just bring our gear over and start everything and everything would work and they would just be able to switch it over. Turns out there's never been active lines, that the family member once before ordered Comcast but never actually got it and canceled it. So it looked like there was an active account, but there wasn't. So essentially they have to come on Sunday, which is another 6 days out, and put stuff in. So I'm actually doing essentially an alternative to that. I might have hotspot shows. I am setting up my studio in kind of this one kind of mother-in-law shack. And I'm going to have stuff up and running very soon. But mainly I haven't been able to even start on all that because I've had to move. I've had to unload an entire box truck at least twice all by myself. It has been an absolute nightmare. So just so you guys know, actively trying to get everything up and running as soon as possible. And I thank you guys for your patience. On top of that, I've been watching all of the craziness happening in the world. Obviously, we have a ton of crazy stuff going on. At the same time, there's a lot of distractions, and I see a lot of my peers kind of getting down on themselves that it isn't the end of the world. Hello, I think that all of us are happy that it's not the end of the world, but at the same time, all of the stuff that we have been talking about, and including my peers, they were right on all the time. If you look about what's happening right now, they're setting up a long game and they're setting up a huge war. Right now, you have, of course, the President Trump sending subs over, responding to Medvedev's comments and basically saying, well, we're sending him over. We don't know. He said all of these heated words, and just in case they're not just heated words, we're going to send over subs close to Russia. This is of course, in response to Russia doing the same, right? So we've talked about this for about a month. There was actually rumors that Russia was sending subs near our coastlines, and a lot of people were freaked out. But of course, that ended up being kind of, an embellishment at that time. Well, now you have, of course, them moving Tu-95 bombers closer to Europe. You have, of course, Trump moving the submarines closer to Russia. And you have this whole setup during this whole week, 2 weeks during this whole, the previous presidents committed crimes at Watergate level, all these kind of things going on. And everybody is confused on what to really believe right now. One thing I would say is, as a prepper and somebody who has been in this community for a long time and not an expert, I would say this is where we keep building. This is where we keep prepping. This is where we keep preparing for the unexpected. Because at this point right now, if you look at it, nothing's changed in my eyes. There is a long game happening right now, and there is something massive happening. from the Golden Dome to all of these other reasons why we absolutely know something's about to go down, from the locking down of our border. If you think that that's just because we are trying to lock people out from starting fresh lives, I don't think so. In fact, it's one of the first times in history that we are negative, 60% negative of the folks coming in compared to normal, right? So you've got destroyers watching our border. You've got a Golden Dome system to protect our cities, not our military and government infrastructure, but our cities. We've never needed that. These are things that people should be looking at and going, this is very obvious something is going on. We're trying to acquire new lands like Greenland and talking about, having Canada be the 51st state. These things are very obvious signs that we're not basically getting all of the message, right? So on top of that, we're having all sorts of odd things going on. And by the way, I just saw something about the blue whales, and I saw a very interesting comment under that about how the blue whales have gone silent. And I wonder if that is because there is all sorts of submarine activity in the oceans. Just a side thought, because of course they use sonar tech and they use different things. I wonder if that's why the blue whales, kind of like if there's frogs, croaking, and somebody walks nearby and they go quiet. I just wonder if that's a possibility, like they see all the submarines, everything's out there, and now the blue whales are going quiet. Very odd, and it's a side story that I haven't been able to actually look at. Probably because I think that one was behind some sort of stupid paywall. But I wanted to thank you guys for your patience. This is actually the longest we have been without doing a regular show in 7 or 8 years. So we have, in fact, I think that we just broke a record, the longest without a regular show ever. So thank you. I pulled my back over the last week and a half. I injured my foot. I hurt myself. I cut my leg. It's just been a fun time. Sarcasm. So I really do appreciate everybody that has been hanging in there. Also, I'm seeing that, a lot of people are really just nervous about where this is headed. A lot of people have faith in our community that things are going to happen the way that they're going to happen. And I see a lot of other people have faith that the United States is the biggest and the baddest and the best. I would say that, you can have that same faith, but also be prepared for the other alternatives. Nobody wants this huge World War III to happen, but World War III is all it is it's going to be the next butting of heads of major countries, and it is going to decide who is going to have more power than the next. China is coming up on our heels, but of course China in a few years will be obsolete compared to the rest, because if China is rich because of their manufacturing isn't going to be worthwhile when you have robots that can do that exact same thing. And you don't need to pay somebody peanuts per day to manufacture something when you have a robot that can do it 3 times as fast and not have, any kind of benefits, right? But as far as China and Russia, they know all of this. They know that they are number 2 and number 3, and they don't want to be there forever. There's all sorts of kind of divides in our community of who's right, who's wrong, who's the bad guy, who's the really bad guy, and who might end up winning this. There's also divides in if Russia's even bad or if China's even bad. Well, I say this, usually you root for the home team, and I'm definitely rooting for mine. As bad as some of the things that have happened in the United States have happened, I have, faith that the people here have the spirit that has gone back hundreds of years, that we want freedom. And I don't think that will be taken away very easily, or at least the big chunks of freedom. So I hope that everybody really looks at what's going on right now and pays attention, because even if they scare you with World War III, in reality, they're doing something behind, our backs. Well, that's something you need to pay attention to too. The passing of bills, the passing of executive orders even, and watch what the hell is going on, because these things could affect the rest of your life. It could affect your kids. It could affect your great-grandkids. This is one of the most crucial times in history to pay attention, and many people are not. And sadly, a lot of them can't. They're just trying to grind 9 to 5 and make sure that they can pay for their bills and put food on the table for their families. But I do hope that people really, really, really get their stuff together and at least watch what is happening right now, because it seems to me like it is a setup for a major event to happen, and this major event will change absolutely everything. I do believe that something is going to happen in the United States. That is my belief, and that is my opinion. Again, that's hopefully why you're here. Many of the folks that I've talked to believe the same. This event hopefully is not as big as we think it is. And hopefully it is something where, we can survive it and even thrive through it. But in the meantime, I hope that people have, again, food, water, prep, and other items ready, because no matter how many times that CNN and Fox News say that we're going to go nuclear, I would say before that, I would worry about some sort of cyber attack. Again, just over the last couple of days, we had huge groundings happening, cyber events happening, possibly with the airlines. They always end up saying it's nothing, or it's a technical or whatever. It's a bunch of BS. When you have huge corporations like that go down on levels like that, it's either some sort of corporate espionage, sabotage, or it's some sort of attack on their infrastructure. If it's really a mistake, then maybe that's not a company you should fly with. But either way, things like that happen all the time. I would be more worried about our grid going down, our infrastructure, because if our power goes down, we are going to be helpless. Everything from the ground up, all of this technology, all of this cool stuff that makes us more advanced, if that gets taken out from the carpet underneath, then what are we, right? So that would be, if I was going to attack the United States, which I'm not, I would go for the power and go for the communications. And what do we see them lining up to do? They're lining up and practicing satellite to take down our satellites, to take down our hardline cables between the countries, and they're lining up, of course, to knock out our power. EMP, super EMP, cyber events, putting backdoors into almost everything. These are all the things that are already there, that people can verify. That not only the DoD, the DHS, all of these agencies have said out in the open. And people want to just go, oh, I can't believe it, even if it's from an official, document that literally shows evidence of that happening. Well, you kind of got to draw the line of where you are going to start believing and where you're going to stop believing. You don't believe that, but you will believe something that goes along with your confirmation bias that Fox News says or CNN says. Well, either way, I would like to prepare if it's said somewhere, especially in an official capacity, that probably should prepare for that just in case, because a lot of the things that have happened and that have been called out in official capacity, even warned about in official capacity, they have happened. And then we look back and go, look at this. They told us 50 times this was going to happen, and nobody prepared for it. As far as, some of the major events in the last few years that started wars and started searches for WMDs and things like that, yeah, everybody has their own theories about them. I have a very big theory about what happened 24 years ago. But at the same point, what ends up resulting from that? Well, this wouldn't be just a local, we go over to some country, tear it apart, and regime change. We're talking about the event that they're setting up right now is a global regime change, a global currency change, a global everything change. So I hope that people are ready for it, because honestly, I think that there are some good people out there trying to protect us, and they are basically fighting tooth and nail up an uphill battle trying to do so. And part of that is the information battle that's going on right now. Everybody is, people think that these are real people telling you not to worry. I think half of them are bots. People that are telling you not to be prepared, think about where the agenda or the motive lies in that. What kind of person says, no, don't listen to him, you don't need nothing. Nothing's going to happen. When has nothing happened? Especially when we're talking about the countries involved. Every time that we are lined up like this, if you just look throughout history, World War II and World War I, it's happened. It's going to happen again, and we need to stop whining about it and stop preparing for it. Because guess what? Before those two wars, they told the American people, they told the European people, told them to prepare. Europe is doing a much better job than us in this, but US is, blissfully ignorant, saying, hey, we're the biggest, baddest, we don't have to worry. Before they told us to, do freedom gardens and to start our own gardens and to plant our own food and to have water and food and everything else. Now we barely get a Channel 9, public service announcement, a PSA saying, have extra water in case a storm happens. New York, in fact, is probably one of the only states that has done a nuclear warning, which is weird in itself. But again, are we being warned, or is our mental, thing that we're untouchable, we're in America, we're geographically safe? If it's those guys, their boats will fall apart halfway here. Well, those guys' boats are made from our diagrams and our blueprints that they took through very advanced ways. So I would stop thinking that they can't build things just because your $4 back scratcher from Temu is made, crappily. That's not how they're making their nice stuff. And that's not how they're following the diagrams that they stole from us. They're making their jets and their planes and everything else they stole from us exact. They might put a flourish on the tail or put a little curl on the fin, but it's pretty much the same. So just be watching out. All right, thank you. And if somebody dropped a super, I'll be shouting that out in the next show. Thank you guys. And I will be back with an update tomorrow. I don't know what capacity yet, but we will be back on very, very, very soon. All right, thank you guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Make sure to go check out EMP Shield if you want to protect yourself. Again, that's one of the best ways to do so as far as your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats. That is a way you can actually stop an EMP from frying your stuff. Your generators, solar generators, anything like that, you want to have an EMP shield on. Go to marfoogle.news.com/EMP. It not only helps support us, but it also helps prepare you. All right, you guys, thank you, and thanks for the mods that showed up tonight. Thank you for everybody, and love you guys. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.